guys, this is Erica Weston with Fox Sports Midwest, and you're listening to my favorite St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio.
Welcome to Season 8, Episode 80 of Let's Go Blues Radio, the often imitated but never duplicated, the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast. We're broadcasting live on Wednesday, August 26, 2020. This is franchise episode number 266 all time. Your hosts tonight are yours truly, Kurt Price, Bill Day, and Jeff Ponder. And for your listening pleasure, for the next little while, we'll be talking Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues hockey. I guess we can always say that, but we just can't preface it with defending Stanley Cup champion. To interact with the show on social media, you can follow the show on Twitter at LGB Radio. My account is at Kurt Price, Bill's is at Billy Blue Note, and Jeff's is at JPond94. You can follow us on Instagram. We are dual live streaming right now on YouTube and Facebook. And for those of you watching the live streams right now on either of those platforms, first off, thank you for watching the live stream. And second, feel free to comment in the live chats and we'll address what we can during the show. If you're listening to the podcast of this show, we appreciate you too. So thank you as well. And of course, the website is letsgoblues.com, where you can listen to or watch past episodes of the show, browse the fan discussion forum, as well as get some cool St. Louis Blues themed t-shirts and stickers that help support the show. Whew, guys, this show is probably about as stark contrast as you can get, well, almost as you can get from last season's wrap-up show. Would you say?
Yeah. You got to think, was it Carolina that won the cup and then didn't even make the playoffs the next year, I believe. So that's probably the most stark you could get. But yeah, definitely a big change in tone from the last time.
Yeah, but disappointment, we know her well.
And we just forgot what she felt like for a little bit.
And based on the way the Blues played, it feels worse than it probably should have. So, official announcements. We got some. This is the last episode of Season 8, which is fitting. It's episode 80. So, but the last episode of Season 8, and we're gonna start up Season 9 with Jeff Ponder's off-season series. It's not the summer series this year, or it won't.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it. Yeah, first of all, I dare any of our listeners or viewers to find any kind of media that had 80 episodes in one season. I mean, good Lord. What Letterkenny, they do 10 episodes a season? Good Lord.
I bet the soap operas, the soaps do a lot. They do.
Maybe, yeah.
Every day, right?
I would imagine maybe the Jimmy Fallon show and all those, those might too. I don't know if do they even call them? I guess they call them seasons. They have to.
Sure.
Okay. So, all right. Well, we solved it there. So, listeners, don't worry about it. We got it. Anyway, so Season 9 starts next week, folks. So, yes, this is our post-mortem show for the Blues, but we are, as we do the last couple seasons now, we have a show every single week, so don't go anywhere. I will go ahead and say that as long as there's no crazy Blues news that comes out in the next week and we have to do a live show, the next week we'll continue the Past to the Future episodes. I still have Greg Millen release that episode, and then I've got a couple more alumni that I haven't talked to yet that I will definitely interview. So we got those. Plus, we've got a lot of friends of the show that I wanted to have come on and just talk about things. So if you are a fan of this show, don't go anywhere. We will not be having the live shows, but we will still be having podcasted shows. We'll still be posting videos on our YouTube and Facebook channel. So just stay tuned with us because we've got I was telling them before this episode, telling Kurt and Bill that I signed up for this not thinking we'd ever have a pandemic. And now I've had 2 off seasons in 1 year. So that is going to be very odd, but I will make myself get through it.
What are they saying? Back to the Future, the band, when they took a break. Don't nobody go nowhere.
Yeah, that's right.
That needs to be a sound clip. I should have had that ready at the end for the end of the show. And don't nobody go nowhere.
Hey, Jimmy Anderson. First of all, let me just say it to one of our listeners. Suck it. He says, you guys take more time off than Howard Stern. We don't take time off here, Jimmy Anderson.
The hell he
what
says?
What the hell are you talking about?
You show me another hockey podcast that does a show every week during the year, all year long.
That's right.
Show me. That ain't one.
There is one. Puck Podcast.
Puck Podcast.
One of the ones I know of. But they're an at-large. They always have something to talk about.
Right.
We're one team, and we keep it going.
The official beers of episode number 266. You can follow each of us on the Untapped app on your Android or iPhone. My account is at cprice12. Jeff's is at jponder94, and Bill's is at billybluenote33. If you want to see what we're drinking, for those who are so inclined. Bill, do you have a post-mortem beer?
I do. I have posted it to Untapped. I will display it here. I pulled out a big gun.
I almost did the Bourbon County tonight. I almost did.
Yeah. So as you know, and this is in my Untapped description here, I like to go with something with a little metaphorical meaning. Like last week was Ryan O'Reilly. This week, I'm just going to read this because I'm not going to remember what I wrote. Something you really look forward to once a year, but usually wind up disappointed, like the Blues in the playoffs. That's how I feel about Bourbon County. Love it for about the first couple of sips, and then unless it's really, really, like fresh on tap, it's a little too syrupy, lasts a little too long. And that's just kind of how I feel about the hockey season this year.
Jeff, what you got?
Why are you making me follow that? That was beautiful.
You want me to follow? I can follow.
No, it's fine.
Right.
I'll figure it out. I'll work my way through it.
Figured it out.
I figured out. My beer is I'm going to try to make it a little more positive because this is one of my favorite beers all year long. I look forward to when this comes out every year. The O'Fallon Pumpkin Beer. And yes, I know it is still 90 degrees here in St. Louis, but this is a beer that when it comes out, I have to go right to the store when I see they have it and I buy it. It is, to me, and I have tried a lot of pumpkin beer. In my time in Dallas, I tried a bunch down there. I've been to Chicago in October. I've tried a bunch there. And obviously anything there on the shelves here, I've tried. I don't like any other pumpkin beer as much as I like this. The Pumpkin from Southern
Tier.
What's the name of that place?
Southern Tier.
Yeah. That's a great one too, but it's a little stronger than this one. But this is just one of the smoothest beers I've ever had. O'Fallon, to me, has perfected the pumpkin beer. So cheers to them, and cheers to a great beer season, which if you listen during the off season, you'll probably hear me drinking some Oktoberfest as well.
And a plus side to the O'Fallon Brewery is their one of their buildings did not collapse this week.
That's true. That's true.
Very true.
as one of the Lemp buildings collapsed in St. Louis, a part of it did. It was condemned. Shouldn't have even been in use.
It was being used to store bicycles for a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So hopefully by now they've got a fundraiser going and have been able to replace most of those. But that's That's
Kinda
a St.
scary.
Louis story if I've ever heard one.
kind of
Yeah,
a scary
no kidding.
picture there. I mean, it was a rather tall brick building, and the entire face of one side just came crashing down in the street.
Yeah.
Mine for this evening is, I guess it's kind of themed. It's one I haven't had on the show in a while. I don't think.
Oh, good one.
Leinenkugel Summer Shandy. So yeah, it's typically this would be the summer, the off season. So Summer Shandy, it's a very, I don't know. I had not planned on making any kind of tie-in, and then Bill went and had a good one, and I'm like, well, I'll see what I can do.
He screwed both of us.
I enjoy the Summer Shandy. Oh man, I just turned the Tampa Bay game on. I had not I had not seen the score because I was working on the show, and wow, 7-1.
I believe that's what they call an ass whooping.
Whooping, yeah. Jeez, that's a spanking, and it couldn't have happened to a better team. I mean, come on.
I know, right?
Boston. Is it? Did you guys watch it all? Is it? Was it Halak or was it Boston or?
Halak gave up 5.
How were they?
4,
and,
wasn't it?
On him? On
no,
him?
That's right. It was 4 on him, and then they brought in the backup Vladar, and Tampa's been picking him apart. So
yeah, he hasn't had a chance. One of his first shots against was a breakaway from Braden Point.
You know, it's funny. The NBCSN guys after last game, Boston losing. You know, Halak allowed, was it 4? Last game, lost in overtime, and so they were asking, you know, Keith Jones and the NBCSN guys, you know, do you go back with Halak tomorrow? You know, after this game, and they're like, oh yeah, you stick with Halak, and I'm like, and I'm not, I didn't see this game. I don't know if the goals were on him or what, but you know, it's they lost this 7-1, so it's it just shows to Goya that even your quote experts sometimes
you know what though, I still go back to Halak next game.
You have
to.
Yeah.
You don't have anyone behind him.
Yeah.
Right. That's the whole reason Vladar's in. Right. They pulled him, you know, halfway through the game after he gave up 4 because they need to rest him because, you know, this is what 2 games in 2 days for them.
Yep.
You got to give him some rest. He's 35 years old.
Yeah. I'm not saying that Halak should have sat this game. It's just kind of funny.
Right.
So.
Right.
Today in Blues history, courtesy of the @STL Blues History Twitter account, August 26th, 2018, so a couple years ago, the St. Louis Blues unveiled the Heritage jersey today, 2 years ago. So that was that, and it remains one of the best jerseys ever. I mean, I personally, my favorite Blues jersey, I think. And
it's
one
up
of the
there
best
for me.
It might be one of the best Winter Classics, the best Winter Classic ever. So it's up there. It's fine jersey.
That and the Penguins baby blue were 2 of the Winter Classic ones I've liked.
That was the very first Winter Classic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Someone take a picture of this screen. Boston being down 7-1. It makes me giddy. Love it. Even though part of me would like to see Halak do well, but I just, you know, it's Boston, so fuck them.
Yeah, but at the same time, you get Kevin Shattenkirk and Pat Maroon on Tampa, so
It's true.
Right.
Part of you wants to root for them too.
Yeah, I think, you know, at least the people, you know, in the Blues Twitterverse that I've seen are kind of split between Tampa and Las Vegas as the picks, and some connections, you know, with Revo on the Knights and Shattenkirk and Maroon, and you know, Tampa they won in 2004, pretty close against the Hawks. Got bounced by the Hawks. Yeah, I don't know. They're my odds on favorite at this point.
I'm torn with a bunch of teams in here. With Tampa, you know, I mean, Maroon won last year. He's a local guy, I get it, but he did win last year. And you know, Shattenkirk left. You know, he did. I mean, he wanted to leave. So St. Louis. So I mean, there's that.
But
so
he became Zach Sanford, though, right?
Yeah. Well, and I felt bad for him with what happened with New York. I feel like he just walked into a really shitty situation. He had his hopes up for so long going to play for his hometown team, and then they signed him to a ridiculous deal, and all of a sudden, oh, you know what? Actually, we're going to go in a rebuild, and we're just going to buy you out. That sucks for him. So I hope he does get a chance here with Tampa.
Well, how often do you see
I have no ill will towards him.
How often do you see that happen though, with a player going to his hometown team and just not performing, or it doesn't work? Like even last year Maroon had a decent playoff, had a couple of big goals in the playoffs, but
was invisible for most of the season.
Yeah,
right?
He was awful. He was god awful. Until like the first 3 quarters of the season at least, he was terrible, invisible.
You guys say that, but what about when Jan Stastny signed with the Blues? I mean, he was a breakout star when he got here.
Yeah. I don't think hopes were very high for him, though.
No.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between the contract that Maroon signed here and the big payday that Shattenkirk got from the Rags. So
true. That's true. Today's date, August 26th, 2016. Alex Pietrangelo, who had been named captain of the St. Louis Blues the day before, so he was named captain on August 25th, 2016. He threw out the first pitch at Busch Stadium today. So on August 26th, 2016. It seems like he's been captain longer than the 4 years.
Yeah, but that was. Has Backus been gone that long? I mean, it doesn't feel like Backus has been gone that long.
It's true. It feels like Pietrangelo's been the captain for longer than 4 years, but it also seems like Backus was just here.
Yeah, it's funny because in the one of the Past the Future episodes we interviewed, I had Curtis Sanford on, and looking up his stats, he played with a rookie, David Backus. And I remember seeing that and thinking, oh, I definitely need to ask him about that. Everyone's going to want to hear about that. But then I'm like, wait a minute, David Backus hasn't been here in like 4 years. Like, that's weird. It does not seem like it's been that long.
Rapid fire tidbits from around the NHL. Before we get into the Blues talk, Mike Milbury said some Mike Milbury things.
Bye, Mike.
You got to wonder if he's ever going to come back. I mean,
hopefully not.
I mean, going the way of Roenick. During a recent broadcast, Milbury said the lack of women in the league's 2 playoff bubbles is probably a boon to players' concentration. He said, "Not even any women here to disrupt your concentration." He said that about competitive advantages inside the bubble. So the NHL issued a rare public rebuke of the former Bruin, who once wielded his shoe like Dr. Hook wielded his stick in the movie Slapshot. For those of you hockey buffs who are familiar with what Milbury did in the stands as a Boston Bruin player, and then if you're also a fan of the movie Slapshot, then you can make that connection. I don't think that's a stretch, no whatsoever. The NHL called his remarks offensive and insulting in a statement provided to the Washington Post. NBC Sports said it was disappointed about Mike's insensitive comment over the weekend. Milbury said he was stepping down for the rest of the playoffs. He said, "I sincerely apologize for making the comment. It was not my intention to disrespect anyone. I was trying to be irreverent and took it a step too far. It was regrettable. It was a regrettable mistake that I take seriously." So, I mean, is anybody surprised that Mike Milbury said this? I mean, is it out of character for him? No, not at all.
No.
But to try to characterize it as irreverent?
Well, here's the
no. You're a dinosaur, bud.
Here, when he said it, when I didn't hear it live, but when I heard the replay, this is the way I took it. I took it as him. And I'm positive this is what this was. I don't think he was being dead serious. I don't think he's anti-woman. You know what I mean? I don't think he's like, oh well, women are just are terrible. And maybe he is, but I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he's that way. I don't think he's gonna come out and just be hateful towards women on the air. I think he was trying to be over the top, sarcastically funny, and to get a rise out of any women that may have been there that weren't. You know what I mean? Like I guess it's also a situation of know your audience, because maybe it's something
Know
you
your
say.
time.
Yeah, your time, and
It's
maybe
not something you say in 2020.
no, maybe it's something you say in mixed company in a private setting. If you know your audience, like Roenick, exact same thing. You probably don't want to say it live on the air, even though I probably get what he meant, and it's funny because it's sexist kind of a thing, which is way different than saying something that's just flat out sexist. So
and I think that's why he said it was the joke,
Yeah.
like to be sexist.
Right. Yeah.
And you're right. I think in a private setting with your buddies, having a couple beers, oh, what's the perks of not being in the bubble or being in the bubble? Well, they don't have to have the distraction of women around. Like, that's a joke that a guy makes to any other guy. But you just, especially at this time, that's just not a joke you make at this juncture.
And while he shouldn't have said it, I think, and I'm not defending Milbury whatsoever here, but I do think that a lot of people took the comment like he was dead serious. You know what I mean? I think there was a lot of outrage with that in mind, which I'm pretty almost positive that wasn't the case. But I do understand that he should not have said it.
No, I think the pitchforks have been out for him, and rightfully so. I mean, so many people throughout this year's playoffs, throughout last year's playoffs, myself included, have been saying it's way past time for this guy to be off the air. Promote Anson Carter, put him inside a color commentary team. I don't think Milbury brings any insight from his playing days, and I definitely don't want to hear what he has to say from a management perspective.
Right.
I drafted Roberto Luongo and traded him away for nothing.
That's what I said. That's what I said I was on the Crunch Time with Joe and Wags. Yeah. And I kind of echoed that sentiment. I was like, I agree with you, Bill. I don't think he brings, you would think a former coach, a former player would be able to bring a little more insight into the finer tuned items of the game, like locker room scenarios, what they're talking about in the locker room, what they're on the bench, what's being discussed. Stuff like that. I don't get that from him much at all. If you're going to be if you're going to be a former coach, former player, and doing that job, bring your expertise. And I just don't see it. I mean, he makes. To be honest, I've said this before. I enjoy Milbury's comments just because it sparks discussion and outrage, and it's funny to see the people react to disliking him. I enjoy that. But it's like, oh, what's he going to say next? That's not that it's a good thing that he says ever, but like I've said before, I like chaos and anarchy.
Mm-hmm.
So Milbury brings that sometimes.
Yeah, the only thing that I'll say is with this is because we probably already spent way too much time on Mike Milbury, who hopefully will never be relevant again. I just think that his comment, it wasn't the worst thing he said. I mean, the dude has literally come on TV and called certain players from Europe Euro trash. I mean, the guy has said way more ridiculous things. I think it's just a matter of the fact that he said something again, and let's remember here too, you are catering to a TV audience more than ever right now. So when he says something stupid, it's going to get broadcasted even more because you have nobody in the arenas paying attention to the game. They're all listening to Mike Milbury's commentary. So when he says something stupid, it's going to get out like wildfire more than usual. And right away, too. I mean, people were posting videos of that 10 minutes after he said it. So, it's a matter of he said it, and I think it was the NHL and NBC saying, oh, my God, Mike, we have had your back for so long. We can't do it anymore. This is the final strike.
And know the environment. I mean, especially in today's society with the way things are. I mean, things are changing, and you just can't do that. Bob Rakowski in YouTube chat says Blues get knocked out. Now I got to hear about Milbury. I'm in hell, aren't I? So yeah, good point. We'll move on.
Hey, let's put it like this real quick, Kurt. This is the last time in all of season 8 you'll have to hear Mike Milbury's name.
Good point. On a semi-related note, and it happens in baseball too. Tom Brenneman. This was a big deal. This was far worse. And he's been relieved of his duties with Fox Sports and the Reds announcer. He was for those of you who don't know, he was caught on mic coming back from commercial. The mic, they were live. He didn't realize it, and he was having he was caught saying that live on the air, that referring to what they think was Kansas City as being a homosexual slur capital of the world. So, and it was an F dash. I don't want to say it on the air, even though as a kid I said it a lot and I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah,
it's one of those things. I'm like,
Bundle
Jesus,
sticks, right?
Yeah, I didn't know what it meant. I'm like, I just thought it meant jerk. You're a jerk.
Well, and here's the difference between the two. Again, Tom Brenneman. I don't know. Maybe he said stupid things before. What he said versus what Milbury said. I think what he said, that's an instant, you're gone. We can't have that. I don't care if you have been a model employee for 30 years. You're gone. You can't say that on the air. Whereas Milbury was, dude, how many times are you going to put your foot in your mouth? Like, so it's you hear it in all walks of sports. But yeah, that one was get the F out. You're done. We can't have you employed anymore.
Yeah, and Brenneman, he's second generation. He's kind of like Joe Buck in Cincinnati, right? Yep. He does football for Fox. He's done national football games there. He's good. He is a very good broadcaster. Yeah. But it was the thing that I found most interesting was listening to him come to, like, he's going through the thought process. When they come back after the next commercial break, and he's realizing the implications. Says, I don't know if I ever get to put this headset on again after tonight. I apologize, but I like that. I like the human element of that, but then to see his official public press release start off with, I'm a man of faith. Like, that's going to save you, bud.
Yeah.
Right?
That means anything to this.
That just means you're an old white man, right? Just be sincere. Well, don't try to say, that you're a Christian and you should be forgiven. You made a mistake, own it.
Well, yeah, and
I don't know.
And he said that's not who I am. And I've heard a lot of people say that. I've heard a lot of people say that about, when they get caught saying something on the air or whatever, or they or what, and they say, "Oh, that's not who I am." What the hell? It isn't. You were having a conversation.
You might not want to be defined that way, but you just defined yourself that way.
Yeah, because that was a conversation that you weren't on the air trying to make a stupid joke. That was a conversation you were having, and you could tell by his tone he wasn't joking around. I don't think he was joking around. He didn't say he was joking around. He didn't imply that whatsoever. So it's just like, that's who you are. Don't say it's not who you are. It's who you are. You got caught being who you are. That's what the problem is. So yeah. If that wasn't who you were, then you wouldn't say those things. But you did say it, and so that's who you are. So whatever. Anyway. Yeah, and this is the last thing we'll talk about real quickly before we get to the Blues, is that the Milwaukee Bucks, they I've never seen this before, and we've never talked basketball on the show, and I don't care to, but this is unprecedented. They boycotted their playoff game tonight, and they didn't play because of a decision they following the police shooting of Jacob Blake in the team's home state of Wisconsin. Blake, who is a black man, was shot in the back by police on Sunday. It's a broken record with, the social issues right now. As he tried to enter his vehicle, this shooting became the latest incident that prompted the outrage nationwide over racial injustice and police brutality. So, I'm 45 years old. I've never seen a sports team boycott a playoff game. I've seen social issues in sporting events, but never this. This is nuts.
Well, I love what somebody said. It was like for all the people who complain about them protesting the national anthem. Well, how do you feel about them protesting a full game?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to listen now, kind of thing? And I'll say too, I don't know if you guys saw this, that they were playing the Orlando Magic. Yeah. And apparently they kind of said they even said they're not protesting. They were going to forfeit the game.
Mm-hmm.
They were okay with forfeiting it in order to do their protest. And the Orlando Magic said, no, we absolutely decline. We do not accept your forfeit. Which I thought was very classy too.
Oh yeah.
And then of course the NBA canceled all their games. And I think the Milwaukee Brewers also said they will not take the field tonight.
There have been three Major League Baseball games and all MLS games were canceled. And there's been a lot of public scrutiny a lot of Twitter scrutiny. I don't want to say public, but Twitter scrutiny on the NHL for not canceling games tonight. A lot of people calling the NHL out about the, we're listening and learning. And the one tweet I saw earlier, somebody saying, class is over, you're in the real world now. So a lot of pressure on the NHL for going ahead. Matt Dumba, the head of the NHL or the Hockey Diversity Alliance, calling the league out for playing games tonight. A lot of national media joining in on that. So unfortunately for the game that we love, it's being cast in a negative light in reaction to a lot of this. And I know a lot of fans and a lot of people that listen to this show aren't going to agree with it. I think things ballooned quickly tonight. And the NHL already had a couple of games under its belt and probably, wasn't thinking about it. But I think at least the game that's going on now, Dallas, Colorado, they probably should have said, you know what, we'll think about it and come back tomorrow. They're in a bubble. They have plenty of time to figure it out.
I don't really honestly want to comment too much on all that. I'll just add that the fact that the NBA had its players' backs and kind of continued to cancel the games, I thought that was a big move by a professional organization to have the backs of their players. And obviously, I think if there was one NHL team that came out and said that too, if there was a team in Wisconsin or whoever, if it was the Colorado Avalanche that came out and said, we will not take the ice tonight, I think the entire NHL would have followed suit as well. It just took a matter of one team stepping up and say they're not going to play, and that didn't happen in the NHL. So they went ahead and just said, yeah, we'll continue games.
I wonder if it's no secret that hockey is predominantly white, and the fan base is predominantly white. I wonder what kind of backlash the NHL would have had. Not saying that factored into it. I don't know, but it would have been interesting to see if there would have been any backlash for if the NHL had canceled games tonight, or if they do cancel them tomorrow, or whatever. This is all unfolding, like you guys said, very quickly, and not a whole lot of time to think about it. But I'm curious as to if that's going to happen. To some degree it will, and I'm sure it's happening in the NBA and as well. Even it is what it is. You're going to have people that are going to say what they're going to say, and that's fine. But anyway, this is crazy times. I'm not sure even what to think about it, to be honest. It's kind of like you guys, it's all happening really fast, and I was just kind of shocked today to hear that. So. Okay, Blues lose in 6 games to Vancouver. So we go for some
Vancouver.
Vancouver.
All right, that's the last time I'll probably do that.
They're now over. Yeah,
Ever.
They're now 0 for 4 versus Vancouver in their history. So
We don't know Chris any wine coolers over that, do we? Was Chris who was our guest last week? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, Faber.
Chris Faber. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know wine coolers over this, right?
We didn't bet, did we? Did we bet?
I don't think we did.
I don't think we did. I would remember that. I don't think we did.
The audio was so choppy, we probably couldn't hear each other if we did.
It doesn't count. It doesn't count if we did. So I mean, there's a number of talking points to this series. I think a lot of people, I don't know. I mean, our maybe our views maybe vary a little differently in how we are going to analyze this series. But there's a number of talking points we can talk about. There's Markstrom's play in net for Vancouver. There's our goaltending, Bennington and Allen. The Canucks power play, the 5-on-5 discrepancy, scoring chance discrepancy. Canucks being opportunistic on the scoring chances, untimely sloppy play from the Blues, fourth line issues for us, bottom 6 issues for us. Injuries we've had, officiating, like ridiculousness early in the series, especially. I mean, what stands out to you guys as far as how you felt about why we lost this series? What's the most glaring thing?
For me, it was, and I kind of mentioned this, I think, on last week's show. For me, I just feel like they didn't have the drive that we saw them have last year, and even in past years. I just thought when they got there, it was, we're the defending champs. Let's go out and see what we can do. Kind of a positive attitude. And then they started losing a bunch of games, and it was, okay, guys, we're the defending champs. Let's go in and show Vancouver how to play hockey. They went down 1 or 2. They got down on themselves. They ended up coming back, showing what they could do. And then all of a sudden, they give up 3 goals in the second period of Game 5. And I think when that happened, when that started, when they lost the lead, and actually when they tied it, I think, I just saw a change in the team that said, all right, I'm not saying this was an intentional thing. I'm not saying it was even in the like it was something they were actually saying on the bench, but I just read it as seeing their body language, how they were hunched over. It was all right, guys, 2 losses, we can go home to our families. And I'm not saying that it's something they intended to do. It was just, this is a much different circumstance. I think they were tired. We'll get into some of the COVID issues that Doug Armstrong mentioned in his presser. But I just think they were worn out. They were tired, and they just didn't have the drive that we saw them have last year. Yes, they were a bad home team last year in the playoffs, but they would come in, they'd see how crazy the fans were, and that would give them that extra lift they needed, just like any team would tell you. When you see your home crowd going nuts, especially a city that's never won a cup, it makes you play at a different level, even on the road. And I think in this bubble tournament, and not taking anything away from Vancouver, they were very opportunistic. It's just, I read the Blues body language as, guys, let's go through the motions. Let's get out of here. Let's go home, and let's see our families. And again, it's not anything. It's not a knock on them. It's not saying that the Canucks didn't play good hockey. It's just, I didn't think they had the drive that we've seen them have in the past.
Yeah, your comment about them going through the motions, that's what most of the series against Vancouver and all of the round robin games felt like to me. That it was like contractually obligated to be here, but not really bought in. Whether there's anything to how many players on the team had COVID, I think there's I think Vince Dunn definitely was one of those guys. He'd been held out for some of the practices. You'd have to think with the big backward steps that Colton Parayko seemed to take, that he may have been one of those guys too. Just didn't seem like he had the energy, the focus to play full hockey games. You wonder what that, if we'll ever, truly find out, if the NHL releases any data, as far as how many, not even individual players, but how many players per team actually had people test positive before getting there, what the effect would be. But certainly, it was a far cry from the team that found ways to win last year. I think, the fact that other teams, especially, the younger teams, used the time to, had more energy. The Blues, going into the playoffs, and they played a lot of hockey last year. And I'm not going to say that that's an excuse for why they're so tired going into the playoffs, because everybody had the same amount of layoff, but other teams had a lot more energy, and Vancouver figured out a way after Game 4 to beat the Blues with speed, and I think that's what the series ultimately came down to. The Blues controlled the game, controlled it through the same methods that they did getting to the Cup last year. Solid forecheck, grinding teams down, wearing them out. But Vancouver they persisted, and they were a much faster, crisper team than the Blues were through the rest of the series. I think that they didn't have enough energy to bring that same style of play consistently, to beat a younger, speedier Canucks team in that series.
Here's my thoughts on. I agree with you guys. The Blues had issues this series, and it was puzzling as to why the Blues weren't playing as well as they should have been. And hearing the info today about 20% of the team was tested positive for COVID before the bubble, and pretty much almost everyone on the team had symptoms of some kind, as far as but they didn't test positive apparently. But it affected most of the team. So that would help explain some of the issues the team may have had, or like you're watching the game, you're like, what's going on? They look completely out of it. They look like a Mike Kitchen team. But with all that said, they outplayed Vancouver in this series. Blues didn't in games 1 through 5, and even parts of game 6, the Blues outplayed Vancouver. The problem is that Vancouver the Blues would make a mistake. It was a bad mistake, and Vancouver would come down and it'd be in the Blues net. Was it Scandell and Parayko that collided, or is it Gunnarsson and Parayko?
Scandell and Parayko.
Scandell and Parayko collided. That was embarrassing. That was pee-wee hockey mix-up stuff. That was bad. And that puck went in the net, and then De La Rose stepping on the puck, and then it comes right back the other way. 3 seconds later, it's in the net. That was kind of the story. Each game there was a goal or two like that just ended up in the net, and our goaltending just couldn't save the day on those chances. I mean, your goaltending, your last line of defense. When your last line of defense isn't saving the bacon from the team in front of them, and the team in front of you is playing. I mean, is outplaying the team. But when they do make mistakes, that Vancouver, they're making them to the wrong people. They're making them to Horvat. They're making them to Pettersson. And the wrong guys have the puck on their stick, and they're burying the chances. And the goaltending has not come up with the save. I'm not blaming one in particular thing over the other. Even though goaltending it has a spotlight on it, it always does. they're the last line of defense, like I said. So puck ends up in the net, all eyes are on the goalie, usually. Unfairly, quite often, too. That's not always fair.
All that I'll add to that
think it's
point.
Totally fair.
Yeah, and all that I'll add to that point is that last season, the Blues would make a mistake, and Jordan Binnington bailed them out every single time. And that's why he became known as this big game goalie that you could trust to make the big saves for your team. And this year, he simply wasn't that guy. I know his numbers were atrocious, but I don't think he played that bad. Just like Jake Allen, I thought they played fine. It was just he wasn't coming up with the monster saves when the team needed him to. And then they could come back, okay, Binnington just bailed us out. Let's go score a goal. That just did not happen this whole series.
As far as the Blues outplaying the Canucks go, I mean, if you look at the advanced stats, and there's hockeyviz.com has a nice, easy to read charts and graphs about how game flow and shot tide, stuff like that. Based trends in the game to see how the play is going, who's getting the better of the play, who's getting the better chances, stuff like that. And it's like a flow chart kind of a thing. And the Blues had the edge in pretty much every game on that chart. So it was a very frustrating series to watch because honestly, personally, Vancouver did not overly impress me in this series. They had a few players that played very well, including their goalie. He stole the series for them. And I say that with the Blues not playing very well. So the Blues didn't play the way they should have. Vancouver didn't. They didn't do a whole. I mean, they didn't. They were outchanced heavily in most of the games, outshot by an average of 11 per game. The scoring chances that the Blues have, like, was it 80 of 40 shots the last game, and the Vancouver had 40 blocks or something like that. It was nuts.
40,
yeah. I mean, that's insane. And I mean, and that's a credit to Markstrom and their defense blocking a lot of shots. I mean, the Blues, they put the puck towards the net. It's just, I mean, sometimes things don't go your way, and there was a lot of things that were going on that just didn't go the Blues' way, whether it be the COVID stuff, tiring the team out, whatever, affecting their play. That you can call it excuses if you want, whatever. Sometimes excuses are a reason if you're trying to explain something. If Vancouver were beating the Blues' butts up and down the ice, I'd say, it didn't matter. The COVID, Vancouver was impressive. I didn't see that from Vancouver. They were good enough to win. They were opportunistic big time. But I didn't.
5-on-5. If this series, games 1 and 2, most importantly, if those are 5-on-5 throughout the most of the game, like it should have been, because I thought both teams played pretty clean. They were just calling everything. I think the Blues, at least after Game 4, are up 3-1. I mean, it's a completely different series. And again, I'm not taking anything away from Vancouver. I know some people gave you shit on Twitter, Kurt, for saying that Markstrom didn't have a good series. He was phenomenal.
Oh, he was fantastic.
Yeah,
he was so good. And yeah, he had a rough game in Game 1 against Vegas, and a lot of people said, "Oh, well, look, this is just the real Markstrom here." Well, guess what? He bounced back in Game 2 and had a hell of a performance again, and tied that series at 1-1. And then you mentioned the block shots, Kurt. 100%. The Canucks, they had 40 block shots in Game 2 against Vegas.
You know what? That's the stat I was thinking of. That was not the Blues Game 6. That was last night against Vegas. Sorry.
Yeah, they had. I think 42 was the record. So if they would have went to, I think a record in regulation. So if they would have blocked 3 more shots throughout the game, they would have broken the record for block shots. And we saw that against the Blues. Now, I'm not saying the Blues, you need to adapt. You need to make the right plays. You need to change things up if it's not working. But we all know the Blues, a lot of their offense is driven from shots from the point, shots from the circles. And Vancouver was just getting in front of everything. I mean, they helped their goalie out so well. But again, I think 5-on-5, Blues outplayed them 100%.
Oh God, yeah.
It's not most of the series. I'd say 90% of the series. But
any kind of advanced stats. Any kind of advanced stat you look at, it's there's proven. You can't.
It reminded me a little bit of the Boston series last year. The fact that the only way Boston could beat the Blues was on the power play.
Mm-hmm.
The minute they went 5-on-5, which is why we were all confident going into Game 7, was because it was, well, the Blues are great 5-on-5. Game 7, they're not going to call shit, so the Blues stand a good chance. And that's exactly what happened.
We talked about that very thing on the show.
Yep, and it's the same thing. It's Vancouver. Vancouver's a great team. They've got a great top 6, but I think if you take away all the power plays they had in games 1 and 2, and I'm not sitting here complaining and bitching about the officiating. It is what it is. It happens. It's part of the game. But I'm just saying that I think 5-on-5, if the series is played the way it should have been, if they weren't calling everything, we're not talking about a postmortem for the Blues right now. We're talking about how they did in games 1 and 2 against Vegas.
Having a 3-1 lead. Go ahead, Bill.
I was just going to say, look, from a goaltending perspective, things just did not operate for the Blues, right? So Jacob Markstrom was by far the best goalie in this series, and the Blues' best goalie in this series was Jake Allen. Jordan Binnington needed to be the same Jordan Binnington from last year if the Blues were going to repeat.
Or he could have been Jake. He could have been Jake Allen from this series too, and it would have been better.
True.
Yeah, a lot better.
Vancouver had a book on him. They exploited it. Mid-low blocker every fucking time, and then got him off his confidence, and he just he just wasn't the same. But Markstrom, I thought, was remarkable. I thought he was the difference maker. But at the same time, Vancouver, man, they just collapsed and took away the slot. And when the Blues lost this year, that was what worked. Travis Green outcoached Craig Berube in this series. We didn't make the right coaching adjustments throughout the series. Our goaltending was inferior to theirs in the series. How many of us posted on Twitter that the Blues should have been up 6-1, in Game 5, and
that woulda, coulda, shoulda. Man, I know.
Right.
If we're up, if we score that fourth goal, if we get that fourth goal in Game 5, that game's over.
Delarose,
right? Whether it's Delarose or Thomas bearing their chances,
I know
that was the turning point. Vancouver had all of the the belief at that point. I'm not going to call it momentum, but all of the belief that they could unseat the Blues, and they certainly did.
With everything that happened prior to that. Whether the Blues inconsistent play, whatever, the bad officiating, all that stuff, they battled back. They tied it at 2, the series at 2, and they had a 3-1 lead in that Game 5. And like I said, if they get that fourth goal, I think that game's over. Because it's late. You're getting late in the second period. You're up 4-1. The game should be over easy. And the Blues, they should have been able to sit on that lead. And it fell apart. And that you could, even with all the other crap that went weird before that, they still should have won the series. They really should have. And that was the moment, that 6 minutes in the second period when they scored those 3 goals. It was just like, well, the wheels just came off, and now we're down 3-2. And the third period in that game, we didn't come out like we wanted to tie it. I mean, if you look at the game flow charts, we didn't dominate that period like you thought we would. I think we may have outshot them, but we didn't have the better to play.
They weren't high potential chances.
No, it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't a good third period, and we almost tied it late. Almost. But it was like if it did go in, which it didn't, I don't think. It was a good second after the whistle. So after the buzzer.
Yeah. Yeah, it was no Nazem Kadri.
No.
In the round robin.
No. I got my hopes up for like a little bit when the Blues raised their arms. Like maybe they saw it go in before the buzzer. Maybe it's a Nazem Kadri again, but no, it wasn't even
So
close.
let me ask you guys two options here. 2 things to me that could have absolutely affected the series and changed the outcome. One, Vladimir Tarasenko comes back from surgery and it's just Vladimir Tarasenko again. 100% player, phenomenal, out there making chance after chance. Or two, Jordan Binnington plays like we saw last year in the playoffs. Which one would have improved the Blues' chances more, in your opinion?
Binnington
all day.
Easy. Yeah.
The Blues won all season without Tarasenko. They didn't need him in the playoffs. I don't know that they need him going forward. Might be a good topic for an off-season show, but Binnington's the answer there. If he's half the goalie he was last year,
Yeah.
That would have turned the tide in the series.
Side note there, Bill. That is an excellent idea for maybe a couple shows here or there over the off season. Here is us just coming on and just chatting about one topic. God knows we could do it for hours.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Does this team need Tarasenko? Boom! That's an hour show right there.
I mean, they need
woulda,
somebody.
Coulda, shoulda series.
I think. I mean, goaltending is goaltending. You can't win without good goaltending. I mean, you need it. I think you can replace missing a guy like Tarasenko with some forward depth. You can spread, you can change your lines around, you can get different combinations. Not Troy Brouwer. He's not depth. He's a warm body. But I think
exactly.
you can your system. You can change your system. You can make it work. I mean, my God, look at the Sabres and Hasek. Look at Brodeur and the Devils. I mean, you can have a defensive system. Granted, it's a little bit different game now, but you can make it work with your lines and whatnot to cover from not having Tarasenko. And the Blues did that this year. Speaking of Tarasenko, his shoulder, was announced today that he will need surgery again for the third time on this shoulder. He'll be reevaluated in 5 months. It's like a broken record. We just heard this story. Tarasenko's shoulder is the Groundhog Day of NHL injuries, apparently. So he came out and said his career is not over, and said that over the last few months something was wrong with his shoulder. So that's interesting. So when he came back, he knew something wasn't right with it. So it seemed that it was never fully healed, and the doctors found. He said this is Tarasenko. The doctors found the problem and are fixing it. So Andy Strickland mentioned that the surgery may not be the same surgery that he had before either. So maybe it's not the exact same issue with his shoulder. Maybe it's like an issue that was not fully healed or fully repaired the first time, and they're going to go ahead and fix it. So I'm not sure if that's the same as.
I have some insight.
Okay.
I have some insight here. So actually, what happened was they had his shoulder open the last time they did his surgery, and one of the doctors was eating a bologna sandwich.
I thought you were going to say Junior Mint.
A piece of bologna actually came off the sandwich and fell in his arm, and now it is like infected, and they got to go in and they have to surgically remove the bologna, which has completely taken over the muscle. So that's the issue.
You chose bologna when you could have went. I don't know if you're a Seinfeld fan. If you are, shame on you.
Of course,
for not.
Junior Mint.
Yes.
Who doesn't love a Junior Mint? They're refreshing.
It's chocolate and peppermint. It's delicious. It's very refreshing. But yeah, so Tarasenko also said, after talking about Blues fans generally being amazing and supporting of him and his family, this is a quote from him: "There is a different group of people, haters and the ones who is laughing, make predictions, make fun, and send bad message to me and my family. God bless you and all your family. Hope no one will ever text things like this to you or to the one you love. Instead of this, just wish me a good recovery." Who the hell is texting this shit to, of all people, Tarasenko? One of the nicest athletes St. Louis has, maybe if it's ever seen. A guy who is constantly talking about how great city St. Louis is and always saying the right things. I've never heard him say a bad thing about anybody. And people are all over him for what? Why would they do that?
Pissed off sports fans, man. They're fucking crazy.
People are insane.
They're nuts. It's it's sick. It really is. Like, even if he came back 100% healthy and still didn't play well, would you ever even think about, oh, this guy's terrible, I'm going to go to his house and write him a letter, or I'm going to find his phone number and text him, or I'm going to write hate about him on Twitter? I mean, good Lord, come on.
Look at how Chicago fans treated Steve Bartman. I mean, it's
that poor guy.
Oh my God. I mean, you ever see the documentary Catching Hell? ESPN 30 for 30?
No, I haven't.
It's really good, and it is shocking how we all know that they treated him like ass, but oh my God, there's all kinds of video footage that I had never seen before, and interviews with people and callers and talking radio, and just how they wanted to lynch the guy. I mean, and
they really did.
I mean, one of the Chicago Sun-Times, I think it was, they printed his address and where he worked in the paper. So he had to have like cops
Doxed
there
by a major publication.
They had to have cops there to protect him. It was just insane. But so yeah, I mean, I get it. Sports fans can be completely irrational. But it's a shame because Tarasenko, I mean, at least with Bartman, I mean, there's people saw something and it triggered them. What has Tarasenko done to anybody?
Right.
Didn't score a goal every game, apparently.
Yeah, other than be injured and not being a steadying influence on the team just because he wasn't in the lineup. That's absolutely ridiculous that somebody would single him out like that. Shame on you.
Vince Carpenter in the YouTube chat says, hey guys, Jeff, I saw your tweet, the tweet of you playing roller hockey. You should play with the camera on all the time and make YouTube videos out of it all the time. Do that all the time.
Oh, all the time. I don't know about that. So that was anybody who saw that. Yeah, it was pickup. A couple friends and I got a rink over at Queenie, and I thought, I've got this action camera. I've never really used it before, so I brought it out there on the rink with me, mounted it to my helmet, and that was the first thing I said. I'm like, what asshole is going to try and shoot this off my head first? Somebody's going to try. Luckily, so I looked at the guys that were on both teams, and I said, all right, the white team, which is the team I was on, most of the guys that would try to do that are on this team. So I'm going to join the white team because...
Was it whites versus blacks? Is that the way you guys play it?
It was white versus... Shut up.
I'm just...
Shut up. It was whites versus color.
Pulling a Mike Milbury, that's all.
I know you are. And all right, well, the NHL is going to have to send out a message condemning you.
Come at me.
But anyway, no, that was a lot of fun and something I will do more in pickup. But yeah, I'm afraid if I did that in a real game, that would probably be an issue.
Pietrangelo, when asked if he'll be back next season, this was like the press conference after they were eliminated, which he's in a bad mood. First of all, he goes, when asked if he'll be back next season, I'm not going to answer that. We'll find out soon. When I heard that, I was like, man, that was harsh. He sounded bitter, but later on in another interview, he goes, obviously I want to stay a Blue. Of course I do. It's the only place I've known professional hockey. So this is obviously important. This organization means a lot to me. So what do you think? I mean, we are in the off season where in the next couple of months, we will probably see whether he's signed or not, or go elsewhere. So do you think he will be back? Yes or no?
If that's the only question you're asking at this moment, yes is my answer. I think they'll make it work.
Yeah, I agree with you. I hope they get it done quickly though, because I don't like the way Toronto's shedding cap space.
Yeah, I think if they're going to get him, they need to get him signed before that period when Toronto can, because they have it's usually 5 days before July 1 that they can start negotiating with potential UFAs. you got to get him locked up before that. So you got to start shedding salary as soon as you can.
I agree. I think he's back. I think I think you shed salary yourself. I think you move Allen, you move a guy like Bozak, and I'm assuming the NHL is not going to award the compliance buyout. I mean, wouldn't we have heard by now?
Yeah, I think we would.
That should have been known before the trade deadline, right? So
yeah, I don't know. I think they're, these are special circumstances. I think they're gonna revisit all the the normal free agency period in that before in compliance buyout, especially once they determine what the cap's going to be. I think that they may have to reconsider how they calculate things. Probably have to get some buy-in from the PA because of the lost revenue from COVID.
Let me ask you guys.
Impact everybody.
I mean, we can, again, this is probably a whole show topic we could do in the coming weeks here, but just potential crazy thought here of what they could do to shed some salary. The Detroit Red Wings, they so everybody who probably saw and many who listens to this show, Robbie Fabry was just re-signed to a pretty large deal.
$5 million over 2 years,
something like that. Yeah, I think it was like 2.85 per or something like that. Yep. So I think that's a huge overpayment, and I think part of that is because of all their buyouts and their long-term injury reserve and all of that, their cap hit, as bad as they were the past 2-3 years, has been right at the cap. So last year they were at, I guess technically this season still, they were at 79.9, caps at 81.5. As bad as they were, that's how high their cap hit was. Next year, because Johan Franzen's dropping off, Jonathan Eriksson, a bunch of players are dropping off. Yeah, Franzen still in that conversation.
Played in 10 years?
Yeah. They are going from 79 million to 47.5 million. And the cap hit, what did I tell you guys earlier? It was 60 million.
Yep.
Is the cap floor. So they need to get to that cap floor. Now they've got a couple guys they're going to have to re-sign. Tyler Bertuzzi being one of them. Guys going to get a decent payday. And I mentioned Robbie Fabry because I wonder if part of that was an overpayment because they know we're not going to go after big-name free agents. We're losing Jimmy Howard. We're losing a couple other guys. We got to start signing players so we can hit that cap floor. And how crazy of an idea is it?
Eriksson's cap hit is $4.25 million.
Isn't that ridiculous?
He hasn't been relevant in 5 years.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
It's pretty insane. Yeah, and Darren Helm, another guy, he's making 3.85. What the hell did he do this year?
It's going to be the Blues roster in about 6 years, though.
So when you look at it, though, is there not potential here for the Blues to take one of their high-priced veterans, maybe an Alex Steen if he probably wouldn't accept a trade, but maybe even a Justin Falk of, hey, we'll send you this and a draft pick. You have to give us nothing in return. We just have to shed salary. Do you think there's any potential there?
I think it's possible, but I mean that's a pretty hefty salary for Falk, and the length too is pretty hefty.
But you got to figure they're probably a good 3. They're playing now with Yzerman at the helm, 3-4 years. You could probably say, okay, let's get some veterans in for these young guys.
Maybe
Justin Falk would be, and again, I'm not.
But you know what though,
saying it's going to happen. But you send them a Justin Falk, that's a veteran there on your blue line to tutor a lot of the younger players.
There's something just would stink about trading Falk before his contract even kicks in that we signed him to. You know what I mean? Because his contract starts next season.
Right.
So if we trade him in the offseason, he's gone before his contract even kicks in. So how much of a fuck up would that make Armstrong look like?
And how much would that affect future signees too? Like future guys to sign in St. Louis. Hey, I'd love to sign with you, but
give me no trade
signed
clause.
a guy and traded him right away.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just an idea. A friend of mine floated over, and I thought worthy of discussion on the show.
I mean, who knows what Detroit wants to do? But I mean, that's anything's possible, I guess. But we've got.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we got other free agents in this offseason. So just with a quick yes or no, because we have to show up. Free agents this offseason are, we've already talked about Pietrangelo. So yes or no on De La Rose. He makes $900,000. Well, he's an RFA, but let's ignore the RFA UFA for a moment. Do you want to see De La Rose back next season?
League minimum, yes. Anything above that, no.
Well, I think it depends too. Again, if Alexander Steen comes back, I don't think you need him. Otherwise, I think he's a fine fourth line player. So stick him out there with Sonny and Barbie.
Brouwer.
But if Steen's back for sure, then no, I don't think you need him.
Brouwer.
As a coach,
no. Yes, coach is fine.
Dunn. He's an RFA, so he's coming back, but
well, he certainly hasn't earned any kind of pay raise, bridge contract, prove it deal.
I think
I'd take it.
I think that's a given with the RFA.
Yeah. After his playoff, I
So
right now Armstrong's got all the clout, all the bargaining weight in that situation. Yeah, if he comes back, if some other team wants to give us whatever, couple second round picks that we get for him, let him walk.
I think people have been saying that, we gotta sign Pietrangelo and Dunn. Gotta have room for Dunn too. I'm thinking, you know what? I mean, it's not going to take that much to sign Dunn. A couple year bridge deal, maybe 1.2, something like that. Tops, maybe.
Kurt, I saw a conversation you were involved in where somebody was debating that Dunn is a better defenseman than Parayko. And
who said that?
Oh, this was probably about a month ago, probably even before the season came back.
I was involved in that conversation?
Somebody said it to you, and it was a huge argument. I'll have to try and find it. But anyway, I could not disagree with that more. And I even said this last year after the Blues won the Cup, that if there's one guy that I could look at on that roster and say, yeah, you could probably replace him, that's Vince Dunn. I mean, I like Vince Dunn. I like him in this lineup. But with what the Blues have coming up, Tyler Tucker, Scott Perunovich, I think he's replaceable.
Perunovich, man, like that's the guy that
next year
I think is the pressure on Dunn. I think you get Dunn to sign that prove it deal and give Perunovich every opportunity to play in NHL games next year.
You know what? I'm Dunn's 23. I'm high on Dunn, just because of his age. He's 23 years old. He's got a few years before he's even his prime, the beginning of his prime for a defenseman. So I mean, he needs work. He's up and down, but I think when he's playing well, he's pretty effective, and he's a pretty significant offensive contributor. So. Yeah, I mean, he's an RFA, so he's coming back. Just a matter of what's going to be probably, like you said, a Bill Bridge deal. So and then the following offseason, there's a shit ton of currently free agents, and without any discussion, since we have to go, a quick yes or no on these guys, and these are I'm not RFA, UFA, whatever. Okay, Steen.
No.
Winnipeg.
Schwartz.
Yes.
No.
Bozak.
No.
Sanford.
Yes.
Yes.
Barbashev.
Yes.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Kyrou.
Yes.
Kyrou, yes.
Yes.
Gunnarsson.
Prove it deal, but
no.
Bennington.
Yes.
Yes.
And assuming he's still here, Allen.
No.
No.
Okay. Next for the Blues, possibly the Winter Classic. That may kick off the next season.
You know what, though? If the pandemic is at all still in effect and we're still doing there's no way they even play the Winter Classic, right?
They'll cancel it?
That's made for the people at the stadium. It's
not
made for TV.
No, you know what? I think it. You don't even see the fans on TV. I think that's a better TV game than what we got going on right now.
Oh, I disagree.
I
think the Winter Classic is not fun to watch on TV.
I think it's much more fun to watch on TV than in person. I've heard.
That's probably true, but I'm just saying. I think the experience is what makes it more fun for people in the stadium.
You know what? If it's snowing, give me any like a football game too. If it's snowing, give me the Winter Classic. I'll kick back with a fire going in my living room. I'm watching hockey when it's snowing. I love that. I
agree with that.
TV.
But how many times have they had snow at the Winter Classic?
A few times.
Minnesota on New Year's Day, pretty good chance. It's as good a chance as you had in Buffalo.
I get that the environment is very cool, and there's shots of the stands and people in gloves, hats, whatever. I get it, but I think it'd be. Now, if you're asking me if they would cancel or not, I'd probably lean towards them canceling it. Do we get a reschedule? I don't know. Maybe. It depends on how things go. I think
they would just push it back and say, okay, they'll play next year.
I hope so.
But yeah, I think without fans, I don't see the point of it, to be quite honest. So I think they would cancel it, but it depends on that. So we'll see.
I don't know. I mean, the whole thing is the outdoor. I mean, I don't know. I disagree with you. I think there's a major draw to watching players play outdoors, whether it be fans or no fans.
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree. Maybe we can debate this also on a later episode.
I hope you you bring your debating brain, because I am a master debater.
I am always ready to debate with you, Kirk Price. So I know we're folks, we are closing up here. We can't go longer, but good Lord, there's a lot of chat going. I do know that first of all, they there was a question, I believe, from our friend. I'm drawing a blank. Oh, it was Austin. It was Austin Lynch. Had said earlier, asking about what they're going to do for next season, the bubble. I'm going to retweet something right now. So, folks, if you follow me on Twitter, jpunter94, you can check out what I'm talking about. But again, this is something we'll probably discuss over the next couple weeks. The idea of having 4 bubble cities, rotating all 31 teams in those venues in 8-game increments. And they have no indication if these cities would all be in Canada. That's from John Shannon. J Shannon HL is his Twitter. But that is definitely something we will discuss in the coming weeks. I do think the bubble works. I think the MLB has proven, and I think the NFL will prove as well, that if you play without a bubble, it's not going to work. So I think that if they are going to have a season next year, and unless there's a vaccine coming, I do believe that we will be seeing more bubble hockey, just in a few more bubbles instead of just 2.
I think that'll wrap up episode 80 of season 8 of the original St. Louis Blues Hockey Podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who participated in the YouTube and Facebook live chats during the show. Sorry we couldn't go longer. We hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. For Jeff Ponder and Bill Day, I'm Kurt Price. Until next time, everyone, I guess let's go Blues.
Let's get a vaccine.
Let's go vaccine.
I think we can all agree with that. Let's go vaccine.
The Chiefs are at home tonight against Cyanosport at the War Memorial at 8. Good seats are still available. I think that went very well.
Thank you for listening to Let's Go Blues Radio. Now take off, hosers.
Well, there's 90 minutes of your life you'll never get back. Sorry.
St. Louis Blues, St. Louis Blues. Have you heard the news about our St. Louis Blues? They've only just begun, they're on their way to number 1. Now there's no more blues for our St. Louis Blues. Blues are on the ice tonight.